So this tutorial is a basic orientation to color correction using Premiere CC19. When you open up the project, it should look something like this. You might be in this editing mode here, and so what we want to do is we want to click into the color workspace to get started, and you'll see that then it opens up the Lumetri color panel here, and it also in effect controls it shows that Lumetri color panel, and these are the exact same thing. It's just that the side on the right is a little easier to use, even though we can get in here and use sliders as well. Let's set up some scopes. What you want to do is you want to go to Window and click on Lumetri Scopes, and then what we want to do is we want to go to Presets, and we want to start by just clicking on Speed Grade 4 Scope Luma there, and then we want to turn a couple off. We want to turn off the histogram because we don't really need that, and we want to turn off the vector scope. And so that leaves us two scopes. Basically we've got, and they're both waveform monitors, and they basically measure, it's like a spot meter, so it measures the color here in the RGB parade, and then here it just measures luminance. And in our world, 0 is black, 100 is white. And when we're doing color correction, if these shapes look approximately the same, that means that we've achieved proper white balance. Okay, so I'm going to first start by just showing you the grayscale here in this color chart. And we see that we've got black set right at 100 and white set just below 100. So let's go ahead and lift that up a little bit. These are the basic tools. What we want to do is we want to work from the bottom up in this world. So first thing that we want to do is we want to set our 0, our black, and then we want to set our white level, and then shadows. Then so those are hard limits, and then we can change the gamma in the shadows and the highlights by pulling this towards black. We're making the darker things darker, but we're not making. But black is always the same, right? Black has already been set. I'm going to just zero that out. And then with the highlights, it's the same thing. Now the grays are going to get brighter and brighter. We're moving that gamma towards white, but that it will never go past white because of the limit that we set. And then we have a quick contrast exposure tweak if we need to use that. I don't use it all that much, but it can be useful. And then we also have the ability to change the overall exposure of a shot without changing any of the colors. So I'm going to open up the other image. And so then we have our color chart. And so in our world, we're going to deal in these swatches. We have red, green, blue, yellow, cyan, magenta. So I'm going to make sure that we've clicked on the second half of this shot, because basically we have 3 shots. We have a before and after. We have this young woman there and this young couple there. And so all we're going to do is color correct the second section so that we have a before and after when you do your final render. Let's start by using the color tool, and let's click on white and say, well, actually let's click on something nasty. So now we are completely out of wackadoodle, and so let's go ahead and change our white balance again, and this time I want to try it in gray, and let's see what this gray does. And and it changes things a little bit. This red seems a little too tomatoey to me, and so let's make things a little more blue. Let's pull down the shadows a little bit. See, that changes the saturation a little bit. We also have a saturation bar we can tweak later if we need to. So I'm going to say that this looks pretty good for a start, and just to show you guys the meters and how we kind of need these shapes to look pretty much the same. Actually, the green here is a little bit off, so let's go ahead and add a little more green to it. That's too much. All right, so let's move on to the next part of our shot. So make sure that section is highlighted. And here, basically, we need these shapes to look about the same. So let's see if we can do that with the white balance tool first. And it doesn't quite do it there. So let's try the white balance tool on this light gray. And it does a little bit better job right there. Let's try the white balance tool on the gray background. And that does a pretty nice job right there. So now we're fairly close. So let's just, and I'm just looking at these shapes right now as I'm making these adjustments. I want to. So blue and green are in a pretty good spot. I do want to pull down the black level a little bit to get that black swatch down. Our red needs to be changed a little bit, and in this tool they don't give us a really good way to change the red, which is a weakness in this. And so let's go to curves, and I'm going to just pick this red curve and I'm going to grab it in the middle, and I'm just going to pull it a little bit until now these shapes look pretty close. Okay, let's go back to our basic color correction tool, and let's pull down our shadows a little bit. Let's see what happens when we pull down the exposure. Yeah, we're going to leave the exposure alone. And now I want to play with the saturation a little bit, see what we can get. Alright, so we've got a before and after. And the chart looks pretty good, so we'll move on. Then in our last shot, we want to find something to white balance on. Let's decide to make this flower white, and that kind of warms things up a little bit. Let's sample some other areas. Let's see what happens if we try to make that white. I kind of like that. Let's pull down our blacks a little bit, and I'm looking at the luminance monitor, the black and white one, to set that for right now. And let's pull down our shadows a little bit. See what happens if we push up our highlights just a hair. Let's play with the contrast bar. See if if we get anything interesting, we probably want less contrast. In fact, let's pull down the highlights and get a better overall exposure, and then we'll zero that out again, and let's move up our exposure a little bit. So that's our before and after for right now. I think that's pretty good. Let's boost the saturation just a little bit. Alright, so that's our before and after. And now what I want to do is I want to create a soft vignette that's over this entire image. And so basically I'm going to click on the Lumetri. I'm going to hit copy C, Command C for copy, and Command V for paste. And we've added a second one. And I'm going to click here to reset it. And I am going to click on this mask path tool. And basically I want to put a kind of like a darker vignette around the edges of this image to draw our eyes in towards the center. I'm going to feather it out a great deal. And then all I'm going to do is pull down the exposure. And you'll see that it's pulling down the exposure in the middle. So we'll come over here and we'll click invert, and now it puts it to the outside. And if we turn it on and off, it's pretty extreme. So let's back this off a little bit because we want to see it and not see it all at the same time. And so that's much better. So now all we have to do is export it, File, Export, Media,